So here's the thing. As soon as as soon as I have his foot, I lift it up and boom! Right in the balls.
I kicked him as hard as I could in his testicles. That's my purse.
I played Rochambeau with the mother and I won. So I don't think it can be talked. I don't think we can move forward with this video without at least having to say a couple things. In the former state in which we lived, Tennessee, there was an incident, and we're not going to discuss that in long-form stuff. There's been plenty of videos discussing about it. Hell, Chad and I did a full podcast episode where we dedicated a good section of our discussion towards it. So instead, I'll just say this. I hope everyone who was involved with it has gotten the help that they need, and to those who passed away, our greatest condolences that we can offer. And that's really all I really want to say about it. School lockdowns are something I remember. They weren't a thing until a certain event happened. You and I both remember it very well because it happened while we were both still in school. Mm-hmm. Now, the whole thing with school lockdowns is that sometimes things can go a little, it can get a little scary sometimes. So like whenever they do the lockdown tests and all that, and it lasts longer than it's quote unquote should. For instance, to test us, they did one where they did it about 5 minutes before the class period ended, and then the class bell rang, like to go to the next period, and it was a test to see if anyone would be stupid enough to like leave the room or leave safety or anything like that, and thankfully no one did, but usually the lockdown drills only lasted about 10 minutes. This one lasted at least 20 to 25 minutes. Like, they wanted everyone to, like, understand, like, hey, like, if something serious is going on, don't do anything stupid. And I don't really have anything, like, scary that has happened or anything like that while in midst of one of those lockdown drills, but
I do have a question for you.
What's up?
Like, we did the drills for those, obviously, but we were never in those situations for real or anything.
No.
But was it just our school, or was it your school too? Is it all schools where you have an unprecedented number of just like kabushki threats throughout the year?
Yes.
Yeah, like it seemed like, especially in middle school, it was like once a week we would have one. And, like, have to go, like, across the freaking street to, like, the church across the street.
Yeah, we did that where we went across the parking lot where the field house was, which was a good distance away.
I was trying to think about it. I was like, I remember doing that at least a couple times in high school. And instead of us going to a place that made sense, they just took us outside to the stadium where the sports took place. And I'm just like... the stupid thing about these, like, measures they take is that if someone actually wanted to cause, like, harm and destruction, is they would set up the kabushki in that area because they know that's always where they take everyone.
Yes.
But thankfully that never happened.
No.
I was wondering if that was just me or if we did have to go out for a lot for that reason.
Well, there was a school incident where there was a bunch of kids who walked out during there was a teacher who got quote unquote or got unceremoniously fired. Turns out the kids didn't know what the hell was up, but they just thought, oh, she got fired because of circumstances that were complete nonsense. Turns out this woman was embezzling from the school. Turns out she was stealing like thousands of dollars a week from the school and was trying to cover it up by saying, What was her position at the school that she was able to do that at a school? She was a part-time teacher, but she was also, like, assistant treasurer. So she could go in and modify documents and shit like that. So that's when they basically found out what was happening, and they found out that she'd stolen in excess over the span of about 2 to 3 years around $75,000.
Jesus.
Yeah, so yeah, when the math didn't add up, they started doing an investigation. They found it out, and they decided to keep it quiet. And then when the kids found, she was very popular in her classes that she taught, and those kids decided, all right, let's walk out to prove it. And me, I didn't know what the heck was going on, but there was a girl that I had the hots for. She asked me to take part in it, and I was like, all right, fine, whatever. I wasn't in her class or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, here we are sitting in the gym. There was 50 of us sitting in the gym, and then all of a sudden, the principal, the vice principal, and a few others came in and said, now, we understand that y'all aren't up to speed on everything that's going on, and there's things we can't discuss with you legally because of, investigations and everything that's going on. But we're telling y'all are making a big mistake. So we're going to give you a chance right here and now. If you leave before this time on the clock, it was 2 o'clock. It was if y'all leave before 2 o'clock, none of y'all will be in detention or receive in-school suspensions or anything like that. And me, I look up at the clock and it's 1:50. It's 1:52, and I'm just looking at it. I'm like.
So they basically gave everybody a little under 10 minutes to change their mind, pretty much.
Yeah, and here's what happened. I remember looking over at her, and I was just like, are you really sure about this? I mean, because I don't want to get suspended. I don't want to get detention or anything like that. And she's just like, well, we just want to know what happened and why she got fired. And it's just and it's I hear you, but I mean, don't you think that they'll eventually tell everybody once they're able to? I mean, and then eventually I was able to talk her into leaving. About 3 minutes, it was 1:50. It was 1:57. And me and her both decided, all right, let's just leave and go to our respective classes. Me, I had a free period. I could just drive home. So I just drove home afterwards. And then, of course, upon me driving home, I eventually, asked my mom. I was like, Mom, what happened? And Mom told me. She says, you can't tell nobody. You can't tell anybody.
You were just like, it's a good thing I left.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so school's a weird time, and things can occur so quickly, and it can get crazy. Speaking of getting crazy in school, this video here, 5 horrific true school lockdown stories, volume 5. Here we go.
Lockdown. This is an emergency alert.
Before being taken on as a full-time teacher at a high school a little outside of Austin, Texas, I was a substitute. I would sub in for a multitude of classes, with my main subject area being math classes. Being a sub, I would most days have a lot more off periods, of course, since I would work more on an as-needed basis. This was on a day that started...
It's submitted anonymously. I guarantee if the person, if they found out who... if someone internally found out who wrote it, they probably would get fired.
Like any other. I had 4 classes I would be subbing for that day. They were all the math classes that a specific teacher would teach, including geometry and algebra. I would usually enjoy subbing for science classes, as the teachers would usually just have me show the class an educational documentary and then hand out a question sheet, which would be handed in at the end of the class to be graded. With math, though, you'd actually have to teach the material as a sub.
Yeah.
I arrived to school and picked up the keys from the front office to the 2 classrooms I'd be subbing in that day. Both classes were in the math hallway, which was downstairs to the far left of the school. The periods I was teaching that day were something like 2, 3, 7, and 9. I had already taught the first 2 classes, so I had about an hour and a half before the 7th period class I'd be teaching. During most of this time, I stayed in the classroom of the last class I just subbed for, since it was empty for the next 2 periods. I was doing a mix of work-related and non-work-related things on my laptop. Period 6, there would be another class here, so I'd migrate to the teacher's lounge by the back of the school. After the second bell rang and period 6 began, I was walking the empty halls to the teacher's lounge. I'd been in the lounge multiple times, and honestly, it would usually be subs sitting in there, if anyone. The teacher's lounge is pretty much in the back corner of the school, by a separate back entrance that's only unlocked from the outside by teachers' ID cards. I set my belongings down on a table in the empty teacher's lounge, and this was when I heard knocks at the back exit door. I went out to the hall and to the doors, where I saw a clean-cut looking man with gray short hair and a button-down shirt tucked into khakis, with a black jacket over all of it. He looked like a teacher. He saw me through the glass and smiled and asked me to open the door. I asked if he were a teacher here. He said, "Yes, my name's Mr. Abrams. I don't have my ID on me today." I opened the door for him, and he thanked me and quickly walked past me. I noticed that now he had his hand in his right pocket. He had some serious movement in his step. He seemed to know where he was going. Actually, he was going in the direction of the math hallway. I suddenly felt like I may have made a mistake letting him in without ID. I rushed to my laptop and pulled up the staff directory, which was accessible to all employees of the school. I looked up Mr. Abrams. There was not a single teacher at any of the schools, elementary to high school, with the last name Abrams. I had no choice but to call the front office and let them know that I think someone pretending to be a teacher had entered the building. This was taken seriously as the school issued a lockdown immediately, sending every classroom an automatic distress call to lock all doors and turn off all lights immediately. I heard a commotion from out in the math hallway. I walked out into the hall, a little closer, and I could hear bangs or kicks on a door, and a man screaming at the top of his lungs, "Maria, open up, and I know you're in there." Maria was the first name of the teacher I was subbing for that day, and I couldn't tell for sure, but I believe the door he was kicking on was one of the classrooms I subbed in that day. Police had surrounded the school in literally minutes, and had entered from multiple entrances and detained the man. I didn't witness it happen. It was down in the intersecting hallway, and I wasn't allowed past the police. The teacher I subbed for, who I changed the name for her privacy, had called out of work that week, originally alleging she was very sick. The man who came to the school banging on the door was apparently her ex-husband, and as far as rumor has it, Maria did something horrible to him. Not much of a rumor, because clearly that would be the case if he came to the school with a gun. Everyone's guess is he came to kill her and then himself. No one knew where Maria went to hide from her ex, or what the full story was, but she didn't return to work for months. I pray to God all the time thanking him that no one was hurt or killed, because I was the one to let him in, and that would have forever sat on my conscience.
That doesn't sound to me like she did something horrible to him. That sounds like she was in an abusive relationship with him.
Yeah, and
he sounds like a fucking psycho from coming to the school.
Yeah, he probably was either ultra possessive or, just wouldn't let her go in any regard. And I would say that the biggest thing that I've seen is, with stuff like that is, there are teachers who were married and all that. When I was in school, for instance, Mr. and Mrs. Blackburn, they were married for the better part of 30 years. But then, I think it was like 2013, 2014. Turns out, Mrs. Blackburn had been cheating on Mr. Blackburn for like a few years at that point. And basically, did everything she could to try and get him fired. And then after he eventually was like forced into retirement, she immediately divorced him. And then, of course, she kept working, but then people, found out that, turns out she had been doing things on school grounds that, she shouldn't have, and she got shit canned. Mm. And then Mr. Blackburn was told, like, if you want to come out of retirement, then you can basically have your old spot back if you want it. And he said, "Let me think about it," and say he just stayed retired because they basically just chose to believe her because and then whenever the truth eventually came out and he was found to be innocent. Well, I'm not gonna say the dude was innocent. I mean, I'm not sure what their relationship was prior to that whole thing. They seemed like a decent enough. Like Mr. Blackburn was a decent enough teacher.
Is that their actual name, or did you use a fake
Changed
name?
it.
Okay, I was gonna say.
of course, my mom was a teacher, in which I heard no end of the, dude, your mom's hot. Dude, your mom's hot. She's like, hey, man, can I contact your mom and give me some private lessons? It's like, yeah, I'll give you a fresh deposit of my foot up your ass.
I'll give you a private lesson. It's going to be a lesson that you feel in your privates when I kick them.
Oh. Yeah, there was there was one kid, Corey. He basically like had a thing. He was just like, hey Nate, like hold my foot up real quick. I wanna try and do like a backflip. Like you're gonna like throw my leg up and we'll do a backflip. And next thing you know, I'm like, all right, man, just let me know. And before I know it, Corey leaps up and he kicks me in the head with his other leg. And then he just like, and then he runs off like down the hall and everything, and like the class starts. I'm just like, all right.
I would have been like, the next time I see that fucker, I'm choking him out.
Well, no, because what happened next time was Corey basically said, "Hey, man, I'm sorry. That was a joke what I did last time, and I'm sorry." But
that's a fucked up joke.
Well, no, here's the thing. I played the fool. I acted the fool. Like I was like, all right, man. Hey, yeah, just don't do that again, man. All right, just. And then he's just like, all right. He's like, all right. I'm gonna do it for real this time. I want you to hold my leg up, and then I want you to like do that. And I'm like, okay, all right. So here's the thing. As soon as I have his foot, I lift it up and boom, right in the balls.
I kicked him as hard as I could in his testicles.
Oh, he was down on the ground. He was crying.
That's my purse.
Basically, I played Rochambeau with the motherfucker and I won. That was easily like one of the best revenge moments for me. The other one was against Charles Fairchild III.
Can't help but think of King of the Hill when I hear about kicking people in the testicles in school now.
You have been kicked in the testicles.
Well, just skip ahead on that story a little bit. Oh, you mean before or after I kicked him in the testicles? What?
Whoa.
This story is told in the perspective of a college-aged female. I attend university in Massachusetts. I currently live off campus in my final year here, but this took place when I was a freshman living in the dorms. Freshmen are on the first floor of every building on campus. This was the winter semester. It was a freezing cold day. I just finished up my last class around 5 p.m. Our professor let us out really early. It was already dark out as I was walking back to my dorm. On my walk back, I got a text from the university. The text started in all capitals saying, "Attention all faculty and staff, get to a safe building immediately," as a suspicious man was walking around campus approaching women with crude, threatening comments and telling them he had a gun. The text mentioned that university police were aware of the issue and were on full alert looking to find the man. I picked up the pace in my step to get back to my dorm building. I started looking behind me every few seconds and suddenly noticed someone walking not that far behind me. It was a black man in a huge winter coat. I couldn't gauge his age from this distance, but also he could have just been a student. At that point I was being paranoid. Plus the text didn't specify the person's race. I rushed to my building, and when I got there, I let myself in. To get into any dorm buildings on campus, you need to use your student ID cards. I entered the building. The first door shut, then I opened the second door. That's when a loud bang at the first door made me jump. It was that man from behind me before. He was asking if I could open the door. I was about to ignore him, but then he said, "Please, I'm cold." I turned to look at him, and he had this pleading kind of expression on his face. I asked, "Do you live here? What's your room number?" He said yes, he's on the 3rd floor, but he ignored my asking his room number twice. I said,
Don't
sorry.
ever let
No.
anybody in without their ID.
No.
Student services, dude. Sorry.
Exactly. I hate to say it, but it's just like, dude, I'm sorry, but
That was a big thing that they kept telling everyone at ETSU when I was there. Like,
yeah,
like if you live in a dorm room like that, Like ours was different because like you literally had your ID and it's like an apartment building. Like you're on an outside balcony. You walk up to your door, open it like it's a hotel room, go in, close it. You're in your room.
Yeah.
But like the big buildings where you could go into the building through an entrance and then walk through the building to get to your room.
So
like for those, no, like you don't let people in.
So basically,
and like
the
ours
ones like
that
an
were
apartment
outdoors
building.
like that too. By the way, they were like bunkers.
Yeah.
Like if somebody had have wanted to get into one of our rooms, good fucking luck. So
Yeah.
those doors were like gigantic metal doors. The windows were really small and up high, and the entirety of the building was made out of fucking brick and like concrete blocks and shit. So.
Nice.
Not to mention, you could go in the bathroom even if somebody tried to get in through your window and shut that door, and you'd be in like a bunker within a bunker at that point.
Yeah, a little panic room.
I can't let you in. This is when he started saying vulgar, horrible shit that I don't want to repeat. He started licking the glass and commenting about what he's gonna do to me as soon as he gets into the building. In disgust, I ran to my room and slammed the door behind me. I turned on the lights as it was pitch black inside and my roommate wasn't back yet. I texted my dorm group chat saying I think the creepy man the school sent a warning about was at the front door of the dorm building. Don't come anywhere near. Everyone replied the same thing. OMG, call university police. That's what I did. I got the number off the website and called them. Told them right away the creepy man with a gun was at our dorm building. When they asked if he was still there, naturally I walked to the window to look outside. I screamed at the top of my lungs for 3 seconds when I saw the man on the other side of the glass, smiling, shaking his head, doing this disgusting motion with his tongue. I pleaded with the officer on the line to send the police there now. The man on the other side of the glass took off running, and he disappeared into the darkness as soon as he was beyond the light of the light posts. I still cried for the police to hurry, and as soon as one of them got to my dorm room,
How the fuck
I
do
let
you
him
know
in
which
and
window
described
was
what
hers?
the man looked like.
He probably like looked up and was like just saw. Like, he probably looked around and saw like a light come on. And he was just like, "She just got back. There she is."
It's either that or like it was like a hallway straight down, and hers was one of the first ones, and he saw her go in. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
He told me to stay in my room and don't leave again for the night. He advised I tell all my friends in the building to do the same. An additional text was sent out to all residents of my building. The hunt for that man went all night apparently. They never found him. The things he said to me were beyond disturbing. I didn't see a gun on him, but honestly anything could have been in his massive coat pockets. The campus had extra police on duty the rest of the week.
Oh, a story by Keith. Old Keith. Keith Leftwich.
When I was in 2nd grade, each day of the week we'd have a different extracurricular activity at some point in the day. I think it went Mondays was art class, Tuesdays was music class, Wednesday was library day, and so on. By 2nd grade, kids were allowed to walk to the bathroom unattended as long as they got permission and took the special hall pass item chosen by the teacher of the class. For the art class, it was this big green plastic crayon that was meant as the bathroom pass. I remember this memory almost vividly, which makes it all the more disturbing when I think about it. Honestly, I was kind of a weird kid when I was in elementary school. I did have some social issues that I don't think ever got diagnosed, but I would sometimes just do weird things. Case in point, we were never supposed to just take the bathroom pass and leave the classroom without asking first. But during art class, as our teacher was going around the class helping the students out with our little creations, I got up and took the plastic crayon and walked out the classroom door to go to the bathroom. The bathroom was all the way down the hall. I go inside, and as a kid, I was the type to pee sitting down. So I went to the stall and sat on the toilet seat. This was when I heard the loudspeaker outside the bathroom, that the school was going into lockdown. My heart started to race. I was outside of the classroom during a lockdown.
The most inopportune time to go to the bathroom. That was something I always worried about. Like, all of a sudden, I would just be... I would be in the bathroom, I'd be pissing, and all of a sudden... Boop, boop. Attention. A lockdown is in effect. This is a test. Or this is not a test. And then all of a sudden, you just, like... You're sitting in there, in the and all of a sudden you're in the bathroom, you get in the stall... You, like, stand on the toilet, like, making it look like no one's in there.
Wouldn't have worked in our schools because they took all the damn doors off the stalls.
That's stupid.
Yep.
Yeah, I would stand in there.
Because if they put them back up, these fucking assholes would hang on them and break them off.
Fair, yeah, that did happen a couple times at our establishment. But
Needless to say, I never, like, anytime I could help it, I tried not to have to go to poop until after school.
I never did. I never pooped in school either, dude. It was a thing. I never felt comfortable enough to do that in school.
Thankfully, I didn't have as bad as stomach issues until I got older. So.
But for me, the nightmare would be like I'd be in there in the stall, I'd be standing on the toilet seat, and then all of a sudden I'd hear like footsteps down the hallway. They'd get to the bathroom, they'd enter the bathroom, and I'd hear them like walk up to the stalls and start shaking and like open the doors slowly. And I wouldn't know what the fuck to do with myself. I'd probably basically just shit myself at that point.
I was terrified. I don't remember if I finished peeing or not, but I know I got right off the toilet seat and went outside back into the hall. I was scared I was going to get in trouble. I saw all of the classroom doors were shut with their blinds down and lights off already. I was too late. I saw a man walking down the hallway. I assumed it was a teacher, even though he wasn't dressed like one. I had the wits of a second grader, so I said, "Excuse me, I'm locked out of my classroom." I remember vividly, he said back, "Oh, that's all right, come with me, I know where to go."
No.
He grabbed my hand and we started walking in what seemed to be the direction of the back exit. That's when I heard a familiar woman's voice keep screaming Troy, my name, from behind us. It was my art teacher, Miss Green. She screamed at the man to get off me and grabbed me by the arm and tugged at me back to the art classroom. Once inside, she locked the door and scolded me quietly. I remember seeing the worry in her eyes. She might have even been crying. The lockdown continued for another half hour at least. The whole time I was confused, scared, and most of all embarrassed by all the stares my classmates were giving me. The principal came on the loudspeaker eventually and said the lockdown was over. When my art teacher got on the phone with, I assumed, the front office, I think whatever she said was what prompted the faculty to end the school day early. I'm so grateful for Miss Green. She really put herself in danger and saved me from something horrible, whether it be from kidnapping to any amount of emotional trauma.
That's New Mexico. You can tell from the flag.
Yeah, the teacher had some guts to.
This happened to me when I was a junior in high school, around April or May of 2019. I live on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, but for privacy reasons, I'll leave out the school name. I played the double bass in our school wind ensemble, and every morning we had rehearsal in the band hall. We were about halfway through rehearsal when I heard a knock on the band hall door, which opened to the outside. I don't think anyone else heard the knock because we were in the middle of performing a song, and I was standing with my double bass on the perimeter of the ensemble, along with the percussionists, so I was closer to the door. Before anyone could say anything or react, one of the percussionists who I knew just blindly went over to the door and opened it for the person outside. We had been repeatedly told by the band directors to never open that door for anyone on the outside unless it was a student, and even the students had to show their student ID badges through the window before being let in. But we still have to open that door a lot for other students as it locks on its own. So he probably just opened it without thinking and didn't look through the window. As soon as he opened the door, the person forcefully came in and walked to within 15 to 20 feet from where I was standing. It was a middle-aged Latino man about 5'6", wearing a gray hoodie and cargo shorts. I immediately noticed that the guy had both of his hands in his hoodie with what appeared to be a heavy object. The band director saw him first and immediately stopped conducting, and the rest of the band turned their heads around to see what was going on. The band director asked with a nervous but forceful tone, "Can I help you?" The man replied in broken English, "Yes, I came to check out my daughter." The band director asserted, "This is not where you check out students, you shouldn't be here." The man then asked where he should go to check out his daughter, and to my surprise, the band director directed him to go out the band hall double doors and make a right down the school's main hallway to the front office. The man thanked the director and quickly walked out of the band hall into the school. During this whole conversation, I had my double bass turned in the man's direction and stood behind it so that it would maybe somewhat shield me from any bullets. After the man had disappeared down the hallway, the entire orchestra was speechless for a minute or so, processing what just happened. The director immediately called the school security, and within a minute or so, the school was on lockdown. The director turned off all the lights in the band hall, and we all crammed inside whatever tuba lockers we could find. A whole 5 minutes passed until 2 armed security guards came running full speed through the band hall in the direction that the man had gone. Another 10 or so minutes passed and the lockdown was over.
Yeah.
The school never came out with an official statement of the event, nor could I even find any local news articles about it. I suppose the school was trying to keep the whole thing a secret, for such a stupid breach of security would certainly damage its reputation. But I later heard from multiple other students that the man had just committed an armed robbery somewhere near the school and was fleeing on foot from the police when he decided to take refuge in the school, pretending to pick up his daughter. I also heard that he was found with a gun on him, which explains the heavy object I noticed in his hoodie pocket. The fact that I was standing literally 15 or so feet from an armed intruder inside of a school for a whole 2 minutes still terrifies me to this day. Although I know the band director was probably trying to keep his cool so as not to piss the guy off and cause him to shoot all of us or something, I still think he made a huge mistake by directing the man to go further into the school instead of telling him to go back outside and enter the school through the front door like every other parent or visitor has to. Had that man had worse intentions, that situation could have ended tragically. I'm glad I'm not in high school anymore, because now I know firsthand how easily such things could happen at the hands of a careless mistake.
I think he made the right decision as the band director. In my opinion, I don't agree with him because if he gave him directions that the guy obviously knew was just backwards from the way he just came in, that led all the way outside, and that could piss the guy off, and then he could just decide to start shooting right there.
Yeah.
I think, like, just go out that door and go to the front office is probably the best thing to say.
Yeah.
So, thankfully, he doesn't seem to be there to be on a rampage. I don't know what he was trying to do there.
I think he was just trying to hide, trying to do something to get away from the prying eyes of like the police outside after committing that robbery.
Yeah, probably so.
This experience was short and to the point. I was a very young child in Catholic private school. I was in the 4th grade. Our school would routinely practice lockdown drills. I think once every couple of weeks we'd have one. All of us in the class were always excited for them. For some reason as kids we just found it to be fun. It's all a joke when you're that young. Half the kids don't even realize what you're practicing for, and the other half who do don't ever expect a real lockdown to happen. One day it did though. Over the intercom came a voice from the front office saying, "We're going into lockdown, this is not a drill." I remember some kids still laughed at the announcement, as if it were cool to hear that we're going into lockdown. No one could have prepared for what came next. As our teacher seemed concerned and rushed to shut the door on the lights and yelled at us to get in the corner, I think that's when everyone realized this wasn't just a regular lockdown drill. Something serious was going on. We all huddled in the corner of the room. Each door had a narrow glass window which could be looked through. Suddenly the silence was broken by crazed screaming from the halls. It was one lone male's voice. It was just incoherent screaming. The man was chanting something. The screams got closer, and I remember how scared we all started to get. The screams got closer until they were right outside our classroom door, and then bangs on the door made a bunch of us scream and cry. The man on the other side of the door screamed, "Your God is dead. Jesus didn't die for your sins. You're all gonna burn." Our teacher tried his best to calm us down as the screams intensified, and the man started to yell, "I hear you in there. I see you. Open up the door." The man screamed words I didn't understand at the time, but I believe looking back, he was screaming Islamic phrases and shaming our religion. I was too young to put it all together immediately. The bangs on our door stopped, and the screams continued further down the hall away from the door, but they could still be heard. The crazed man continued through the halls. The man's screams were overpowered eventually by the yells of other men. There was a huge commotion in the halls during what I presume to be the moment he was taken down by police or security. We had to stay in the lockdown position for a long time even after this. After a while, the lockdown was over, and the school day was cut short. Parents were called to pick up their children. Luckily, my mom didn't work, so she was able to come pick me up right away. It was a bit of a scarring experience. We were all so young that we didn't even understand the gravity and freakishness of the situation. I'm just glad no one got hurt.
Yeah.
Yep, that's pretty terrifying.
That is pretty horrifyingly, like, because again, you prepare for the stuff, but you never expect it to happen. The moment it does, all of a sudden, when the reality strikes, you're just like, oh shit. Like what do we do? What?
So it didn't happen while I was there. It happened after I graduated. But the only story I really have that's close to where I went to school, pretty much, is at my high school that I already graduated from.
Yeah.
A dude did come in with a gun, and the resource officer there took him out before he could do anything.
Damn.
Yeah, so y'all can verify this if you want to read about it. Just go to Google and search up Bluntville, Tennessee resource officer takes down armed intruder. I guarantee you'll pop up.
Yep, I remember.
There's even video footage of her taking him down.
I remember seeing this, dude. I remember this.
Yeah, the interesting thing too is she was my dream officer in 5th grade, which is what they converted DARE into. So
Yeah.
The Hey Kids Don't Do Drugs officer.
Yeah.
So I actually knew her, like, from that class.
Damn.
She's a badass.
Certified badass. Mm-hmm. Carolyn Gudger, yeah.
Yeah.
There she is. She is 62-year-old man entered and with armed with 2 handguns confronted the school principal, pointing one of the weapons at her. Wow. Resource officer entered the lobby, drew her gun. Damn. So good.
Yeah, she basically saved the principal's life, too.
Yeah, and look at that, dude.
Yeah, like that close to him.
The
like,
guts on that woman.
Literally like a freaking Wild West, like, just, duel with him, basically.
Yeah. I'm gonna say, I hope this woman's still alive, man, because I'd love to meet her and shake her hand, because she...
As far as I know, she is.
Like that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a true fucking hero.
Mm.
Like, as much as people want to, say, oh, it didn't have to happen and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. As much as I wish there was no violence in the world, as much as I wish that there weren't people out there who wish to do harm to others, they exist. And they aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And I hate to say
Sometimes
it, but...
the only thing that can stop them from committing violence is self-defense.
Yes. And this woman executed that perfectly. Look at this. Just right here. Look at that. Look at her. A hero, ladies and gentlemen. That is a hero right there.
I bet you didn't hear about this one. I did, because it happened where I went to school.
Exactly.
And plus, I know her, so I was just like, dude.
That's pretty killer. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
She was a corporal when I knew her, and I bet you she got promoted for that.
Oh, I hope she did. I hope she got promoted and she got a raise. But, all right. Anyway.
I'm not sure how the ranks work. Like, I don't know what's above corporal.
Corporal, usually, I believe, let's see, would go to police corporal, police sergeant, police lieutenant. So she probably went from a corporal to a sergeant.
Most likely, I would have to guess. She should have if she didn't,
Absolutely. So there you go. I hope she got promoted to sergeant. Hell, why not do 2 promotions? Sergeant and lieutenant. But anyway, everybody, I think that's going to do it. This was 5 horrific, true school lockdown stories, volume 5 by Mr. Nightmare. Sorry, I got the hiccups. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed this, and if you want to see more from Mr. Nightmare, click his name in the title of the video. Until next time, I'm Nate.
I am Nick.
Y'all be good people. Take care.